Sure, my microphone. I want to talk about my last week's picks, and I want to talk about what I think is going to happen this week in the NFL. My last week picks, I don't need to wear a brown bag. I only missed a couple, and the couple that I missed, I was pretty solid about that they were going to be difficult games to pick in. So I hope you had a great week 6 if you picked, if you played fantasy, if you had some action. I hope you had it was not entirely unpredictable. The road teams did really well. I'm going to kind of give you a basic rundown today of what I think is going to happen next week. But I'm not going to give the statistical analysis breakdown until a couple days from now. I'm going to go through the numbers. I'm just going to give you a quick take on what I think will happen in week 7's games, and with some exceptions. But first, Skull Vikings. Vikings are in great shape. Still the best team in the NFC, in my opinion, even with on the bye week when they don't play. So, go Vikings. That being said, this is not a Vikings show. This is a pick show. So we're going to talk about picks. Let's talk about week 6 picks and which ones I got right, which ones I got wrong. Breakdown of picks. Thursday night football was the 49ers versus the Seahawks. I actually did a follow-up video on this already. Seahawks were bested in this game, 36-24. The Seahawks, that was a pick I made, so I was right on the Seahawks and the 49ers. 49ers went to Seattle and took home a road victory. Jaguars and Bears, I said most likely this was going to turn into a Bears game. The Bears were going to probably win this, despite the eighth best rush defense by the Jags. The Bears are not really pressing on the run maybe as much as they should. So I called that one too, so I'm 2 for 2 with those. Next game was the Browns and the Eagles. Any idiot could call this game, or could they? Because the Browns are a horrific team. Kevin Stefanski, I don't know what happened when he left the Vikings. I was kind of mad at Stefanski anyways when he left the Vikings, because he made a deal with the Browns while they were still in the playoffs, and then what happened the next game? They dropped the next game. So he was ready to go to take his head coaching job, and now it looks like he might not have that head coaching job for very long. In Eagles, Nick Sirianni barking at the crowd. The crowd was saying, "Fire Sirianni." And so Nick Sirianni got involved with arguing with his home crowd. Now, I don't think that's a good decision by Sirianni. I don't think it was good judgment. And then bringing his kids to the press conference, I thought that was bad judgment too. But I can't stand Philly. So the fans are horrible. I would never even think of going to a Philadelphia Eagles game as an away fan. You might not even walk away healthy. So welcome to the channel, Dom, Galaxier GT. Glad to have you here. Click subscribe. I'm gonna be here pretty much every day. I try to get in here every day, every other day, and get a video done. So yeah, Eagles. Sirianni is barking at the crowd. The Eagles fans are pretty much. What's up, man? What's up, Blake? Welcome to the channel. Eagles fans are the worst fans in the NFL. And no offense if Galaxier, Blake Walker, Dom, if any of you are from Philadelphia, you're gonna have to apologize. I'm gonna have to apologize ahead of time for saying that people in Philadelphia are generally ruder people. It's ironic that it's called the city of brotherly love because it's a rude city. So I don't blame Sirianni for getting irked by the crowd. The crowd was, nah, I don't know you well enough to make you mod, and I have a mod already. Oh, okay, from Georgia Railroad. Yeah, I'm in North Carolina, so not far. But yeah, man, you stick around and you hang out and be respectful, and I don't mind making somebody else a mod. But right now I got one. A good question. All right, so yeah, let me get back to football because that's what it's all about here, football. Yeah, the Browns came into Philly and should have been routed by the Eagles, but were not routed by the Eagles. The Browns played a horrible game as usual, but the Eagles are really bad, and it's going to show. They're not going to be able to make a deep run in the playoffs. as constituted. The Eagles are not a great team. So that's Browns and Eagles. I called that one too. So I'm 3 for 3 so far. Cardinals and Packers. I said in my last video, I did not see the Cardinals as a team that could go into Green Bay. Oh, you're from the UK. Great. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Love to have people from international folks. So, yeah, and the last time I was in the UK was 1999, probably before you were born. I went when they opened the Scottish Parliament because I have my family is Scottish, of Scottish ancestry, and it was real important to us to be there when they opened the Scottish Parliament. So, welcome from the UK. Appreciate you being here. Subscribe to the channel, click like, and come back and see us too. Stick around. If you watch football too, I mean American football. I watch football also. I'm a little bit out. I like Europa League. My favorite team, I watch the Scottish Premier League, so that's my league. Cards at Packers. Cards went into Green Bay, and Green Bay absolutely blew them out of the water, beat the brakes off of them, all of those expressions. So the Cardinals were not prepared for the power that was the Green Bay Packers. Then the NFC North is like that. No team is going to play an NFC North team and get away with sloppy gameplay. And the Cards are known for kind of sloppy gameplay. So I called that one too. So ding, 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 ding. I got the 49ers, I got the Bears, I got the Eagles, and I got the Packers. So those were all correct picks. Colts and Titans, I missed this one. This was one of my mistakes. I did say as a caveat in my previous video though, that the Colts were that it could go either way because it was a divisional game. So I did say the Titans would win outright. It was a closer game. I was wrong on that one. So X on that one, but no bag over my head so far. I'm 4-1. Bucks at Saints, called this one also. Saints missing the center of their offensive line. The Saints are weak in that constitution. They don't have any way to support Alvin Kamara. Kamara is an excellent rusher. He came into that week as the 6th leading rusher in the league, despite having a terrible offensive line or an injured offensive line. So called that one too. So right now I'm 5-1. Only game I missed was the Titans. Commies at the Ravens. I was wrong on this one. I said that I thought that Commanders could overcome the rushing power of the Ravens, and they couldn't. They couldn't. At the end of the game, it was actually literally Derrick Henry who put the nails in the coffin for the Commanders. So the Commanders didn't have, it was a good game for them, and that's what everybody's saying in the press. Like, the Eagles won and everybody is crapping all over them, and the Commanders lost and everybody is praising them. Thanks, Galaxy. Yeah, drop a subscription, man. I'm almost at 200. Push me up there, man. I appreciate it. And stay subscribed, and we can talk some tomorrow, man. Stay a part of the community. I love to have people from abroad here. So I thought that the Commanders could take the game, but it did turn out to be that the Ravens were too much for them. And the rushing game was just not a good match for their rushing defense, which is weak. So now there's a blueprint on how to beat the Commanders, and that's going to be with a strong, appreciated Galaxy. Yeah, man. So unfortunately, I missed that one. So that's an X, and I got right now, I'm what, 5-2. Steelers at Ravens, I called this one, so got that one correct. 6-2. Chargers at Broncos, I got this one wrong. I thought that the Broncos would be able to defend their home turf against the Chargers and Mile High, elevation difference, decent defense. But, you know, that Chargers team is a talented team. And they are, yeah, see, you're my 199. I just need one more to get to that 200 number, man. I need one more subscriber to get me up to 200. But thank you, Galaxy, man. I hope to see you, you know, stick around. Maybe you know about American football, maybe you don't. I also have other content on my channel you might want to check out. Lots of different kinds of videos, silly stuff, and then informational things. So check out my videos too. Steelers, Raiders, Chargers, Broncos. I missed that one. Thought the Broncos would take that one. No, the Chargers are talented. I watched some more Chargers film after my predictions and started doubting myself a bit. I watched all the Chargers games, as a matter of fact. So, Galaxy VR, got you. Galaxy VR. Falcons at Panthers. So now I'm 6-3, I believe here. So that doesn't sound good. But Falcons at the Panthers, I called that one. The Falcons can handle them. Falcons have had what I feel like is a super soft schedule. Lions at the Cowboys. The Lions absolutely pummeled the Cowboys, beat the mess out of them, beat the brakes off of them. They got their backs blown out like they were at a Diddy party. It was a mess for the Dallas Cowboys. No one is going to be picking the Cowboys from here on out, despite the fact that they probably could win some games. The fact that they got blown out at home, 49-3 or some 43-9. It was just ridiculous. I got you, Galaxy. We'll just call you Galaxy. Galaxy, does that work? Call you that. Lions versus Cowboys. Cowboys get routed at home. And I called that one. So now I'm 7-3. The Bengals at the Giants. Unfortunately, I went a little bit bold with this one and picked the Giants. So I actually didn't know I had 4 losses going into this video. So that's a 4th loss, 6-4. That's not great. That's not brown bag level, but it's not great at this point. Bills and Jets, and the Bills went outright. So looks like I went with those picks 7-4. That's better than 50%. That's good. So I got the 49ers, ding, got that one. That's 1-0. Jaguars and Bears, 2-0. Browns and Eagles, 3-0. Cards and Packers, 4-0. Colts and Titans, 4-1. Bucks and Saints, 5-1. Commies and Ravens, got that wrong, 5-2. Steelers and Raiders, got that right, 6-2. Broncos and Chargers got that wrong, 6-3. Falcons and Panthers got that right, 7-3. Lions and Cowboys got that right, 8-3. Bengals and Giants got that wrong, 8-4. Bills and Jets got that right, 9-4. So 9-4 in last week's games. That's not incredibly bad. And I'm gonna run some more stats and stuff today, so I can get some more accurate kind of an accurate take on this week's games. But let's just run through what we got. On Thursday night, we got the Broncos at the Saints. And I don't want to overthink these, really. The Broncos at the Saints, I think that is a game that the Saints maybe can win at home, considering that Spencer Rattler came out in the last game and actually impressed me with his ability to play against the Bucs. Until the Bucs started getting after him and getting home, and then he started throwing it a little more erratic passes and things like that. I think though that I don't know if the Saints can handle the Broncos with their offensive line the way it is. It's just such a mess. Backup center, backup left guard, backup right guard. Center is the 3rd string. It just looks bad for the Broncos. It looks bad for the Saints, excuse me, in this game. I see the Broncos as, let me get a pencil so I can mark these down. I see the Broncos as winning that game against the Saints. I do think this may be trappy though. The spread in that game, let me see what the spread is. If it's in any way in favor of the Saints, it's Saints +5. It looks like, not +5, +1.5. So I think that means that they're not sure of the Saints being able to win, because usually the home team is going to get an automatic 3 points. You're going to the U.S. today, great, man. Please travel safe, and definitely follow up with me and let me know how people are treating you. I like to think that the U.S. is hospitable to our guests, so hopefully when you come, you have a great experience here. Connection issues. Let me see if I can work these connections. Well, I'm on for now. I'll stick with that. Let me plug this box in so I got some internet out here. I'm still here, so don't leave. I'll be right back for this board here. Oh, no, I got it. So I think that the Saints, the odds are probably pushing the Saints to lose this game at Well, they are because the Saints are plus 1.5. But the Saints at plus 1.5 means that they think that they're basically a 4.5 point underdog. So really, they're saying the Bucks are going to win by 4.5 points. At least the odds makers are saying that. So really, with the Saints plus 1.5, if you read into these numbers with a home advantage of 3 points automatically, they're saying the Bucks win by 4. So if you're taking this game, my suggestion to you would be to adjust the point spread to 4 at least, and get those better odds. It's net Saints plus 1.5 at negative 106. I think you probably can adjust that point spread to 4 and get plus money on that. So I would say I would definitely take not the Bucks, it's the Broncos, and I really am not keen on the Broncos right now after that last loss. Coming off a loss, teams usually like to rebound, and so when I do some more statistical analysis, I'll give you a little more in-depth on it. But I think the Broncos are safe to win that game by 4. That says that Spencer Rattler doesn't come out there and start throwing dimes on the field, and that could happen. So it's possible to go either way. It's not a game I would really mess with in general, but if you are going to, looks like the Broncos at minus 4. Adjust that spread to minus 4. All right, the next game. Patriots at Jaguars. Another tricky kind of a trap game, I think. Patriots are starting Drake May now, so Drake May being a little bit more talented quarterback than who were they running before? Jacoby Brissett. He can do the job, but they're struggling now. I guess it was time. Everybody's throwing their QBs to the wolves right now. Who's struggling. They're trying to salvage their season. New England was never picked to be a playoff type team this year. They're in rebuild mode. A couple years ago, they lost Belichick. Now they've got a fairly new coach. The team is not, they made some draft decisions. I don't know if they were the best or not. My tendency is to say that the Jaguars, who have had a tough schedule so far, their record is not who they are really. Last week against the Bears, that's a good team. The Bears are a good team, and that's a tough loss, but one that I kind of saw coming. So I think Patriots and Jags. I want to look what they have as the spread right now. I imagine that the Jags are like at least 3 to 4 point favorites. They should be 3 automatically, and then another several points because the Jags. They have, oh man, I watched Trevor Lawrence last week. Here's something you need to think about. Trevor Lawrence is a great young quarterback. It is really hard to watch him lose. He threw at least 3 perfect passes within 5 minutes that were all dropped. So while I say take the Jags, man, I'm worried because Gabe Davis can't catch. He dropped 2 or 3 passes. One was right in his helmet, right here, for him to catch. I mean, I teach my sons to make a window. All he had to do was make a window and close the window. Very simple catch to make, not a difficult one. Then one right in the numbers right here. Make a window, bring the catch in. Fundamental football. Gabe Davis has been disappointing, I think, since he's been in the league. I worry about the Jags having that problem again. They had definite touchdowns in that game, and Gabe Davis and the other guy dropped them. Patriots, Jags, it's a tricky game because the Jags should win that, but can you catch? That's the problem. Gabe Davis can't, and the other guy's not great. They got the drops on that team, and that's a problem. They've got the Jags as 6-point favorites in this game. That's probably appropriate if your team can catch. But I don't know. I'm having some doubts. I don't want to overthink it. Trevor Lawrence, if he was catching his own passes, would probably play better, and they would win. But now you got Gabe Davis, who was a bad pickup. Bad pickup. You got another guy there whose name is escaping me right now. I don't know, guys. I think that the Jags won't cover the spread if they win. I think the Jags probably would win by just a field goal. So it's a game I would stay away from if I were you. But generally, the Jags should definitely go up and down the field on the Patriots. Gabe Davis needs to put some glue on his hands, or just like change out of his hooves, because he's like playing with hooves right now. But they got the Jags as 6-point favorites. I would generally, face value, they're a decent team who's done poorly, but they have some real holes in their game, and one of them is they can't catch. This is a game where you have to be able to catch. And just watch that film of the Jags, or watch the entire game of the Jags' last game. It was really bad. It was horrible. It's hard for me to watch people drop the ball. You're a pro receiver. Like, give me or my sons a chance. Yeah, put 42-year-old me in the game, and then see if I can't make the catch, and then get laid out on the field and peeled off by my team. That'd probably be what would happen. Patriots and Jags, I got the Jags winning, but probably not covering the spread. So if it's got the Patriots at +6, it's a consideration. I would stay away from it. I think the Jags probably take it by a field goal. So maybe the Patriots covering their +6 is a way to go. That's a positive money move, but it's not a game I would mess with particularly if it was me. Next game. It takes a long time to get between the weeks here. Oh, we have the Lions at the Vikings. Lions coming off that huge emotional destruction that they gave the Dallas Cowboys, and they're playing the 5-0 Vikings coming off a bye week in Minnesota. I don't think I would, I wouldn't bet on this game. This is a trappy game. The Vikings line's been moving a lot. I think there's a lot of homer money that's getting put down on the Vikings. Of course, they're 5-0, they're at home. They want to ride that victory train. And so I think that probably the Lions and the Vikings game is going to be a battle. It's going to be tricky. I don't think it's not going to be like the Vikings' previous games, I don't think, where they were jumping out to early leads. Though, it's very important to note that the Lions have lost Aiden Hutchinson, their edge rusher, who is the best edge rusher in the NFL. He has, I think, over 12 sacks. He had 5 sacks in one game alone. He's an incredibly good player. He had a compound fracture of the tibia and fibula in his leg against the Cowboys. And that was such a gruesome injury that the network did not replay it for the fans to see. So I understand he had a compound fracture of the tibia and fibula. He's had successful surgery, but he will not be back this season, and potentially he will miss some of next season. The timeline on his recovery is there is no timeline. So Aiden Hutchinson out for the Lions is a big deal for them. The Lions and the Vikings right now, the lines are going somewhere between 2 and 2.5 points, depending on where you are. That is actually saying that the Vikings, that's giving the Vikings 3 points at home. So what they're saying is basically the Vikings are gonna suffer. It's almost like saying the Vikings are gonna lose by half a point, because they're supposed to give you, or win by half a point. You can't win by half a point in the NFL. But they're saying it's a tight one, and that they have the Vikings favored, home favorites by just a little bit. Not a game I would mess with. My inkling is that without Aiden Hutchinson, the Detroit Lions will not beat the Vikings. The Vikings will be able to have time in the pocket. The Vikings edge rushers, Jared Goff, I timed him out last time I watched the Lions games. I watched Jared Goff in the pocket and had my little stopwatch going. Jared Goff is taking a longer amount of time to get rid of the ball. and he's not always in a clean pocket. I don't think he will have a clean pocket against the Vikings maybe all night. He's going to have to play under extreme duress. I tend to think that the Vikings will win this. I would say probably by a field goal. So if you're an intrepid bettor, I would say to move the line a little bit to 3 or 4 for the Vikings. But I am a Vikings fan, so take that with a grain of salt because I'm a homer. And so I would personally, if it was me, I would stay away from that game. Even Vikings fans should probably stay away from it. It's going to be an incredible game. Probably just enjoy the game. It's going to be fun. It may be the most important NFL game in the NFC this season. It's going to determine who has the power in the NFC North and essentially in the NFC, because the NFC North is the most powerful division. So Lions of Vikings, I got the Vikings covering that 2.5, but that's a really risky one. The Lions are very powerful. Look what they just did to the 42-9 or 43-9. It was a blowout. So there's that. The next game I got. So far I got the Broncos. Probably adjust the points to Broncos -4. Probably that's a tricky one. And then the Jags, I would probably maybe take the Patriots covering their +6, maybe not winning outright, but covering their 6 points. That's kind of a generous spread to the Jags, who have not performed well, not necessarily at quarterback, but as receivers. The receiver core for the Jags is really bad. Broncos, Saints, Lions, Vikings. Next game, Titans and Bills. Titans at the Bills. The Bills, they didn't look too bad last night against the Jets. The Jets have a great defense, even though they're a mess as a team, as an organization, and they have an interim head coach. The Jets are a great defense, and the Bills held on the entire time. I know they were desperate for a win against the Titans. The Titans have a decent D. I'm gonna have to look and pour over some stats on this one. I don't imagine the Titans are favored to win this. The Bills still are a great team. I think they can. Wow, they're an 8.5 point favorite. That's a really risky spread for Vegas to give out on that. I think that so if you take Buffalo on the money line, it's -4.5 to 1. That's a pretty tough line to take. I don't know, guys. I think the Bills will win this game outright, but I don't know if they're going to win this game by 8.5 points. Basically 9 points. I think that the Bills will probably struggle with the Titans a little bit. The Titans are going to be hungry for a win. The Bills had a kind of emotional one against the Jets. I don't know if they cover that spread, 8.5. I would say if you're looking at this game, maybe take the Titans to cover the +8.5. But Bills win outright. So if you're taking the money line, it probably is Bills. But the Titans the Titans will probably cover. So Titans to cover, and I think the Patriots to cover, right? Titans to cover, Patriots to cover. That's really important that you know that. I don't think the Titans are going to win the game. I think that the Bills will win. I just think that the Titans will cover. I'm not going to mess with over-unders. Those are so stupid. I don't even know why they do those. Because each individual team has, as I was watching the game, like one of these games at the very end, people dumped in, the teams dumped in 20 points. Over-unders are just not, I guess I could probably go into those, but I'm not going to mess with that for now. In the Titans bill, if you're looking at over-under, maybe take maybe under, because we got defenses at work here. Yeah, definitely I think the Titans will cover 8.5 most likely against the Bills. Maybe not. Maybe the Bills come out and crush them. But that's a really generous point gift to the Bills to say they'll win by 8.5 when I don't know how many teams they've beat by that much this whole season. So there's that. And that's the Titans and the Bills. I think that the Titans cover the spread. Bills win overall. So what we got so far, we got the Saints at plus 1.5 at home. I think the Broncos will win that game. So the Saints being the underdog by 1.5 points is okay. But I think the Broncos will win by more than that 1.5. I think they're giving the Saints a bit of a gift. So I say adjust a point spread on that one if you're interested in that one. Patriots at Jags. I think that the Patriots will cover potentially that -6 or +6 in their case, because the Jags have no receivers, and that is a problem for them. As good as Trevor Lawrence is, he doesn't have anyone to throw to. Gabe Davis is piss poor receiver, so and he's his main go-to guy, and that stinks to have a guy who can't catch as your go-to guy. Lions of Vikings line. They got the Vikings as 3-point favorites with Aiden Hutchinson out. I like the Vikings to cover that spread potentially. I think it could get out of control, believe it or not. It's possible that the Lions will get demoralized. The Vikings home crowd is super loud. The Titans are a football team from Tennessee, which is a state in the lower eastern southern part of the United States. So that's what the Titans are. Good question though, Galaxy VR. I'm here to teach you all those kinds of things, kind of here to throw out spreads. But the next game, I got Dolphins Colts. Dolphins at Colts. And this one depends on the spread, because I do think the Colts will win this game. Dolphins, Colts line. So the Colts are 3.5 home favorites, so they're giving the Colts about an extra half a point beyond what they would give a home team. I think that's probably fair. I think maybe you take the Colts to cover. I would say the Colts to win outright, the Colts to cover. The Dolphins are a mess right now. But that's not a game I would mess with either, because it's trappy. The Colts are up and down. The Dolphins occasionally have like an okay game. I gotta look more at Dolphin stats. They're in the toilet bowl of the league. The Colts are not really there, but the Dolphins are. They're like looking to get draft picks at this point. They got them as 3.5. Colts is 3.5. I think that the Colts cover that 3.5. Win outright, cover the 3.5 points. And so we got the Saints. Broncos adjust that line to -4, I think. Broncos take the Saints out on the road. I think that the Jags will win outright against the Patriots, but I think the Patriots might cover that -6 or the +6. The Lions at the Vikings. I think the Vikings might cover that 3 points with Aiden Hutchinson out. Titans at Bills. I think that spread is too big, so I think Titans will cover the spread, but Bills will win the game. Dolphins at Colts. I think that the Colts cover the spread and win the game. So when I say win the game, that's the money line. Seahawks and Falcons. This one is interesting. Seahawks at the Falcons. A tricky one, but it's a fun one. It's one I'm gravitate towards, because I have been waiting for the Falcons to get beaten. I feel like the Falcons have not had a super difficult schedule. People thought they did when they played Philly. Philly is trash. So the Falcons have had what I think is a fairly soft schedule. They've played soft defenses. And even the Seahawks have some softness to them. But I think that the Seahawks will win this game outright, and that is not what they are saying. So watch me. I could be wrong about this. This is a bold prediction. I think that the Falcons will lose at home to the Seahawks. they got Atlanta at the money line is a negative 1.6 to 1 or 160. I'm not worried about the overhead or the over under. So to start, I would say I think the Seahawks will go to Atlanta and win. So that's a bold prediction in and of itself. The Falcons are only 2.5-point favorites, so that tells you right there that Vegas thinks that the Falcons will struggle against the Seahawks because they should give them 3 points. That should clue you in when you look at that line. So what I think is, I think that the Seahawks, their metrics are showing them that the Seahawks are going to challenge the Falcons at home. I honestly think the Falcons at negative 2.5. I think if you take the money line on the Seahawks, that's a good pick. Otherwise, I don't know. I think that's the route to take. The Falcons, they're saying, are negative 2.5-point favorites at home, but the Seahawks are a fairly good team who has struggled. I think they've lost 3 straight now, and against good teams. The last one against the 49ers. And so I think that the Seahawks are hungry for a win. The Falcons are going to get a bit complacent here. They've had some easy ones, I think. I think the Seahawks go into Atlanta and take care of business and get a W there. And, I think possibly put Kirk Cousins on his back a significant amount. But the way they have it, man, it's a game that if you're looking to, go with the lines that they have, maybe stay away from it. But I say the Seahawks take that game. That's the first bold prediction I have that goes against the lines. Texans at Packers, another awesome one. Texans, great team. Packers, an amazing team. The NFC has been stronger than the AFC win-wise. Doesn't mean that I think that the Packers are better than the Texans. I think they are going to have their work cut out for them. But actually, both teams, I think, with C.J. Stroud, and then you got Jordan Love. You got good, talented young quarterbacks on both sides. Definitely one I would more like to watch than predict, because it's going to tell us a lot, just like the Vikings-Lions game is going to tell us. See you later, Galaxy VR. Take care, man. Travel safe. Texans +3. I don't know. I don't know, man. I think that the Packers will probably win this by more than +3. They're giving the Packers only their 3 points for being the home team. I don't know. The Packers got edge rushers, but Jordan Love can handle the rush. He can play with people in his face, and he will still throw dimes even with that happening. If anything, an intrepid play would be to adjust that line and say that the Packers are -5, -6, probably. So I would say that I think the Packers win outright. Obviously, they're the favorite. I think they also cover that spread. I don't think the Texans are going to make it easy for them. And I do think the Texans can win. I just don't think they will. I think that the Packers will win the game and will win by more than the 3 points that they're giving them. So I think the Packers at about -6. That's my prediction. Total score, I'm thinking, will be, this is one, you know what? This is one where look at the over. Look at the over on this one. Even with the Packers defense being powerful, because the Packers defense may score on you. They got one guy that's had an interception, I think, in every game. I think the defense of the Packers may score a touchdown too. That's another bold prediction, or what do they call it, a prop that you might be interested in. But yeah, I like the Packers in this game. The Texans are great. I wouldn't be surprised if they won, but this is a tricky week. There's a lot of tight ones here. I say the Packers cover, or look at the over in that game. Texas Packers over under. I'm sure it's high though, so be careful. Yeah, I think that the Packers cover this. All right, so the over/under is 47.5 according to these. Could probably different in different books. I would say that 42.5 is super low. That's like a definite over bet right there. So I would say Packers adjust line to -6 or take the over. You know, just my suggestion. I don't do that, but I'll tell you that I would suggest that. So here's what we got so far. We got the Saints. I think the Broncos go to the New Orleans and win by 4 at least. You can adjust that spread. I got the Patriots and the Jaguars. I think that the Jags win, and that the Patriots may cover that 6 points. That's a lot. The line's at the Vikings at -3 to Vikings -3. I think the Vikings will cover that. Not a game that I would be super keen to mess with. Titans at Bills, that's one you do want to look at because Titans are 8.5 point underdogs and go into the Falcons, who are negative 2.5 point favorites. That is a money line type thing where you want to probably take the money line on the Seahawks if you're bold. Texans at Packers. Texans are 3 point underdogs because the Packers are in Lambeau. So I think that the Packers cover that spread, and I think that they cover it significantly, maybe just at the end of the game with a last-minute touchdown. And I think you should look at the over at 41.5 points. That for those two teams with the offenses that they have and the power, I don't see how a game can only have 41.5 points in it. So look at the over. Bengals at Browns. They're underperforming. They're underperforming. The Browns are just like terrible. I mean, they are a terrible team who's stubborn. The coaching has not been good. The play has been terrible. They asked Kevin Stefanski at the last press conference if he's considering taking Deshaun Watson out, and I don't really blame him for not. He's got Jameis Winston to back him up, and I just don't. They've got the Bengals as 4-point road favorites. I think that's probably fair. The Browns will put up a fight because they're an NFL team, but I think that the Bengals are gonna win and cover the 4.5 point. At first glance, that's how I'm going with that game. Not a super difficult one. The Browns are bad. They are really bad. And the Bengals are not as bad as their record would indicate. Eagles as Giants. Eagles at Giants. This one may be another bold prediction. It stinks that my bold predictions are on such a bad team such as the Giants, but I think I was looking at this one earlier and they had the Giants as slight favorites. Yeah, they got the Eagles as 3.5 point home favorite or road favorites. That's bananas. The Eagles are not great. But I don't necessarily know what Giants team I'm going to see. So it's an ugly, ugly possibility, ugly potential. I think that the Eagles are going to go to New York and get beat. Uh, they're saying the Eagles are going to win by a touchdown, basically, because they're taking the Giants' 3-point home advantage away and giving another 3.5 to the Eagles. So they're saying the Eagles will win by basically 7 points. I don't know what in their metrics is making it seem like that, but I got to look at what the Eagles' run defense is like, what the Giants have running next week. I think that'll give me more of a clue in this game. At 3.5-point favorites on the road and the way they've been playing, I'd say it's a pretty good play to take the money line on the Giants because they are the underdog, and I think they will win this one. This is a bit bold here because I'm going against what the odds makers are saying, but I just think the Eagles are a bad team. They're look how they played the Browns. They won, and it was so ugly. But in any case, it is not going to be a super dominant Eagles win. I can't see that happening. It would be a real bounce back for them. I don't see that happening in New York now. Saquon Barkley is going back to New York, so it's like a revenge game for him. I haven't heard that in the media. The Giants let Saquon go to the Eagles for like $1 million or $2 million they could have paid. It was a really stupid decision, all documented in Hard Knocks. So if you watch Hard Knocks, you'll see that Mara, the owner of the Giants, is like, the last thing I want is for Saquon to go to Philadelphia. And then Saquon went to Philadelphia. So not great for the Giants. They're in a tough spot, but I think they're a good enough team. They're edge rushers. They're going to contain Jalen Hurts, and I think they're going to put Jalen Hurts on the ground. They're going to design some stuff to contain him, and he likes to run straight up the middle. That's his favorite place to scramble, in my experience. And I think the Giants are going to look at a lot of film on that. They play each other a lot anyways. This is a divisional game, so we never know what's going to happen. Man, my instinct is take the Giants in the money line because they got the Eagles as favorites, and I think the Eagles are as bad or worse than the Giants. It's about who comes out to play. So bold prediction on the Seahawks going into the Falcons and winning. And I think bold prediction that the Giants win at home, I guess. Next game. Raiders at Rams. Both are struggling teams. Rams have injury woes. I think that probably the line on this is somewhat in favor of the Rams. Yeah, the Rams are 5.5-point favorites. They're at home. I can't see a world where the Raiders, as bad as they are, without Devontae Adams, can go into the Rams, who are got injury issues themselves, but they do have Matt Stafford, and he's looked okay in the last couple games. I just don't know if the Rams will cover a spread like 5.5 points. Maybe look at the over/under, possibly take the under, but I think that the Rams win outright. I don't know. Maybe look at the Raiders covering that spread, but this is a game I wouldn't mess with really. I think that maybe because the Rams really should dominate this. It's just that the Raiders have played so poorly. I'm sure that they could have a turnaround at some point and take one away from a favorite. I don't know if this is the week though. I think maybe the Rams cover that 5.5 points and win outright. So I don't think it's a hard one there. I think the Rams got that. Could go, any game. It's always the NFL. All these are this is all speculation. But my speculation comes from a place of studying the stuff, watching it my whole life, and then really watching the games this season. That's the relevant information. What's going on now? Now we got a sample group of 6 games basically on almost everybody. and that helps us a little bit. That's the Raiders-Rams. Pretty easy to pin that one down. We got Panthers at Commanders. That's an easy one. Panthers at Commanders, and the line is probably highly in favor of the Commanders, as it should be. Eight-point favorites. Yeah, nah, I think though that the Commies will cover that 8 points, win the game outright, cover the spread. That's a kind of bold, because an 8-point spread is really high. They're at home, so the odds makers are saying that they're gonna win by a 5-point margin, basically. Or no, they're gonna win by the 3. They're gonna win by 8, so 11. They're giving the Commies basically 11 points. I think that it's fair to say that the Commies will cover that 8-point spread. I could see them winning by a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 20. It could be a complete blowout. It's got the makings of a blowout. And that would be the Commanders blowing out. So if you want to adjust that line and be bold, do that, Chiefs at 49ers. This one I like. This is another bold prediction for me. This is a revenge game. Seems like they always play each other, which is crazy because they're in different conferences. Yeah, 49ers are 1.5-point favorites over the Chiefs at home. So they're actually saying that it's going to be the Chiefs are going to make it really tough for the 49ers. I think the 49ers cover that spread. Win outright, obviously, they're favorites. The Chiefs have had a super soft schedule, man. They have played everyone. And also, we are in San Francisco, and the Chiefs are playing a team better than most of the teams they've played this season. The Chiefs' schedule is super soft. The 49ers schedule, the opposite, extremely difficult. 49ers have injury issues. So do the Chiefs. They have some people out too. And I'm never going to count out Patrick Mahomes. Maybe this is wishful thinking, but apparently the line is with me too. I see the 49ers as a better team than the Chiefs at this moment. And I think that the 49ers are going to show that this weekend. They're going to beat the Chiefs. It's not going to be like what you saw in the Super Bowl or what you've seen in previous matchups. Even though the 49ers have less weapons than they had in those games, the Chiefs just don't look like they're playing outstanding football. Watch out for Xavier Worthy, though. He's like almost a shoe-in for a touchdown in every game because of his speed, and he's got good hands, too. So I don't know how the Chiefs end up with a guy like Worthy, but they did, and now we have them coming to the San Francisco, and my bold prediction is that the San Francisco 49ers will break that spread. So I think they covered the spread there too, and win that game. And I don't even know, it could end up being not that close. So keep an eye on that one. Back to week 7 here. All right, and we're down to the last few games. We got Jets at Steelers. That's a tough one. Ravens at Bucks. And then Chargers at Cardinals. Those all are tricky picks. Jets, Steelers. Steelers are a negative. They got Steelers plus 1.5. That's doesn't sound unreasonable. I'm gonna go through these in a second. I want to gather the spread. They got Tampa Bay as a home dog by 4.5. Chargers they got as 2.5 point favorites. When they say on this article that it's close, that's not close, because what that is that the odds makers are taking 5.5 points away from the Cardinals, because as home team they generally get 3 points. So you got to take that, make a, if you're not good at doing integers, that's a 5.5 point difference if you have 0 in the middle. So you got the Chargers as really 5.5 point favorites against the Cards, but they're taking 3 of those points because the Cards are at home. I don't know. I'm not incredibly opposed to that. This tricky. I've been having a hard time predicting what the Chargers would do on a week-to-week basis. Let's start with the Jets and the Steelers. These are the last 3 games I got on the docket. Jets at Steelers. Jets are struggling with coaching issues, culture issues. Aaron Rodgers is the de facto coach. The Steelers have had struggles scoring effectively on a repeated basis. The games have been low. The point differential before this week, so before week 7, was both 2-digit numbers, the points allowed and points scored. So, the Jets and Steelers, I wouldn't say look at the under. I do think, though, that this one's tricky. I think that maybe the Jets will beat the Steelers this week. And so that 1.5 points that they're saying the Steelers will lose by, I think that's maybe accurate. Maybe it's more like 4 points. Maybe adjust that spread. But I think that I think the Jets will win. I think the Jets will cover a 1.5 point spread. And that's the first time I really picked the Jets. So I think they're going to take this one. This one's one they can win, even though the Steelers are a decent team. The Jets have a lot of talent, and so they're a threat on any given week. The Ravens at the Bucks. The Bucks have some issues. They got Antoine Winfield back in the last game. He had a fumble recovery, or a forced fumble and a fumble recovery. They got Cansey back. I think he might be injured again. I don't see a world in which the Bucks can win this game, but they do know how to pour points on, and the Ravens' pass defense is terrible. One quick note I want to make. The scripted idea, the idea that the NFL scripts stuff, is not that far-fetched an idea. In all of the Chiefs games, the Chiefs have not really been called for pass interferences, and I've seen numerous DPIs against the Chiefs, or what they were calling as DPIs, defensive pass interference, like there was one that was a game-deciding one. They're all being called. So I do worry that the Ravens will have somehow, even though they're not at home, refs favoring them a little bit. I'm seeing that with the Chiefs. I'm actually seeing it with the Vikings a little, which is weird. I've never seen the refs favor the Vikings, but it seems like they're doing that a little bit too. Definitely seen it with the Chiefs. I've seen it with the Ravens last week against the Commanders. Every DPI against the Commanders was called. There were several DPIs where the guys got knocked to the ground, where the Ravens players hit the Commanders players and they didn't even call it. So there's a lot of officiating issues, especially in that game last night. That Monday night game was just all way over officiated. It was constant officiation, if that's a word, officiation. So Ravens at the Bucks. Bucks are 4-point home dogs, 4.5-point home dogs. I don't know. I think the Ravens will maybe cover that spread. That's bold to say. I think the Ravens cover that spread, win the game, and make the Bucks cry a little bit, because the Bucks are not. I mean, it's Baker Mayfield. Yeah, great. Everybody's like, oh, super high on Baker Mayfield now. Well, yeah, and who's that receiver? He's got Godwin, 2 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield had more than 2 touchdowns, I think, in the first quarter. He can throw touchdowns. But the problem is that, well, I don't know. This one's tough because the Ravens' pass defense sucks. So that's a bad matchup for for the Bucks. I might change my mind on this game as time goes on this week. I don't want to overthink it, but I think if the Ravens get called on their DPIs, that the Bucks might win this game by just Baker Mayfield throwing bombs down the field to Godwin and the other guys that they have on that team. It's tricky. I'd probably stay away from it, but maybe look at over, because it's going to be a high scorer. I got to look at what the over is, but maybe take a look at that. I'm not going to do that now. I don't know. My first glance is that the Ravens will cover that spread, but at the same time, the Ravens' pass defense is poor, and the Bucks have a great passing offense, so that's a bad matchup. You got to look at matchups with teams, not just record. I got to look at what the Ravens are doing against pass, but I'm sure it's even worse now that they played the Commanders, who have a good pass offense. It's a bad matchup for the Ravens against the Bucks offense, the Ravens defense against the Bucks offense. Maybe their run defense is okay, but the Bucks are a pass-happy team. They're not going to do a lot with the run. So that's what I think with that. Maybe look at the over. In general, I'm going to go with the book and say I think the Ravens are a great team. They'll probably go and cover the spread, but I don't know. It's a game I would stay away from. If the Ravens have a bad day and they start getting handsy with the receivers, it could go the other way. Chargers at Cardinals. Chargers are 2.5-point road favorites, which means they're saying that the Chargers should win by 5.5, really, because the Cards are given 3 points. So add that on to that, and you're looking at the Chargers basically being, they're saying the Chargers will win by 2 field goals, essentially, or a touchdown and no extra point against the Cardinals. And I think that's possible, but I think here's a situation where we have to look at how weak the AFC is versus the NFC. I think the NFC is there's a lot of disparity this year, and so you might see that in this game because the Cards have had tough NFC opponents and they've lost to those, but the Chargers have had somewhat soft AFC opponents and their stats are based on those. So I don't know, though. I do think that what's that? I forget his name. Definitely Kyler Murray is not doing what we think he should be doing. I think that the Chargers will probably cover the spread. That's what I think. I think the Chargers will probably, as a road team, go into Arizona and cover the spread. But the Cardinals are off with some emotional losses, and they just played the Green Bay Packers, who are a really good team. They're all tensed up from playing a tough team. A lot of times when you see that, a team go up against the Packers and then go up against a team that's okay, but not what they just played. I think maybe we have a situation where the Cardinals could come away with this one, but in general, if I'm like checking off a parlay, probably the Chargers covering that spread or stretch that spread out a little bit more. I mean, the Chargers covering that 2.5 points, maybe stretch it out to 3 or 4 points to get yourself some plus money. All right, we're going to go back through those real quick. And I'm just going to give you the picks. So I think this week could be a hurtful one for me because I got real introspective with this. I got the Broncos adjust that point spread to win, beating the Saints by 4. So until you get to the plus money, probably -4 Broncos. I got the Patriots going to the Jaguars, and I got the Jags covering the 6 points, but not beating the Patriots overall. Patriots winning that, but the Jags covering the 6-point spread. Lions at Vikings. I got the Vikings covering the 3 points. A lot of because Aiden Hutchinson is a huge weapon and they're missing him. He's the best edge rusher in the NFL, and he's going to be out for a long time. That's an emotional loss, and it's a physical loss for their team. I watched all their games. Aiden Hutchinson is in all the highlight reels. He's doing big things, and now he's not there, and they got to play the toughest team they've played so far. So I think that the Vikings can cover that 3-point spread. So Broncos win by 4, adjust the point spread. Jags cover, but Patriots win. Titans are 8.5-point underdogs to the Bills. I think that, in my opinion, the Titans will cover that massive spread. They won't win. The Bills will win outright. IMO. Dolphins at Colts. They got the Colts as 3.5-point favorites. I think the Colts cover that and win the game. Seahawks at Falcons, my first bold prediction. I think the Seahawks will go into Atlanta and beat the Falcons. That's a money line situation because they have the Falcons as favorites. So bold prediction 1 is that. The Texans at Packers, I would look at the over. They got the Packers as 3-point favorites at home. And that's a really stingy line. I would adjust that line to -6 Packers to get into the plus money. Bengals at Browns. The Bengals are 4.5-point favorites at the Browns. I think they cover and win that game. Eagles at Giants. Here's another bold prediction. I think the Giants cover their 3.5 points and win the game. That's a money line situation on the Giants. If I get burnt on these Giants this week, and I'm not a Giants fan, I just feel like they're not as bad as they've. I mean, the first team they played was the Vikings, and that was a tough way to start their season. I don't love Daniel Jones. I think though that the Giants are gonna beat the Eagles, who are 3.5-point favorites at home, because the Eagles are just a poor team. Raiders at Rams. I got the Rams covering the spread and winning the game outright. So I adjust maybe to get into the plus money, but Rams winning. I got the Commies beating the Panthers, the Commanders beating the Panthers. I think that the Commanders will cover that 8-point spread. I would generally say that's right for the picking, and but look, it's the Panthers and they're terrible. So it's not a situation where you want to like mess with that too much. I think the Commies cover the spread and win. So that spread is big, 8 points. That's almost a bold prediction there. That they cover an 8-point spread. Chiefs at 49ers. 49ers are 1.5-point favorites at home. I think they should be. I think the 49ers cover the 1.5 points and win outright, but cover the 1.5 points. I think by a long shot. Maybe adjust that spread a little bit there too. I know they're playing the 2-time Super Bowl champions, but they're not what we've seen in the last couple of years. The league has changed. Jets at Steelers. They got the Steelers as 1.5-point underdogs at home, meaning they think that the Steelers are going to struggle, and I do believe they will. I think the Jets will get a win here, their first win in a couple weeks against the Steelers, and I think they cover the spread. Ravens at Bucks. The Ravens have some bad matchups with the Bucks. Chris Godwin and Baker Mayfield throwing dimes to these guys. They got the Bucks as 4.5-point underdogs. I would look at the over in that game. It's going to probably be a high score. Neither team has had incredible success on defense. So, and look at all the Bucks scores. They reflect that. So I think look at the over. But I do think the Ravens probably cover the 4.5 and probably, they win. That's what I think on the road. That's my gut. And then I'm like, well, you look at it again and you say maybe it's a bad matchup for the Ravens pass defense, which has been struggling. But they got a lot of calls against Commies. So if they get those again, then I can't account for bad officiating. Chargers at Cardinals, and bad officiating definitely helped that's one thing they didn't say about that game. They should have. Bad officiating definitely helped the Ravens win that game. So I think look at the over, but in general, my gut would tell me the Ravens win that game and that they cover the 4.5 points. Chargers at Cardinals. Chargers are 2.5-point road favorites. I think the Chargers will cover those 2.5 points against the Cardinals, who are reeling. But again, on this one's kind of trappy because the Cardinals are an NFC team who's had tough NFC opponents and the Chargers haven't seen that just yet. They haven't played a team that's had some adversity and has some talent like that. There's a big difference, AFC, NFC. But I do think the Chargers probably come in there. They've got a good running back. If they can control the clock, I think the Chargers cover the 2.5 points and win the game. And that's what I think. So I'm not brown bagging it this week. I think I was 9-4 last week. That's not incredibly bad. That's a decent record. So we'll see how I do this week. Subscribe, click like. I'm happy to see you. I love you all. Take care of the people that you love and appreciate every day and every moment that you get in this beautiful world. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you again soon.